the purpose of the advanced air mobility is to break that barrier and bring it into our communities. How do you see where you have that greenfield capability, especially in the Middle East, and where they are really pushing for it as well, integrating into their infrastructure? They want to be the first, right? So, and they have money to throw at it, so they might actually get away with doing that.
Yeah.
So that's one thing which I think is more of an opportunity than a problem. But then you have, on the other hand, old cities and established cities. You have likes of London and Paris and European and US cities which are highly congested, but still will benefit from that capability, the last mile problem. But it's not really that easy, because you have to find a way to integrate already in a congested environment. I want your view on these two aspects of this. It's kind of an opportunity for us, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, like you mentioned, there's always opportunities, when you're starting from scratch, unique opportunities, when you're starting from scratch and building from scratch. And I think the thing to learn from that, that I'd like to see, particularly if we're looking at, a smart city type of environment, is aviation, has brought in a lot of things that a lot of other industries and areas take advantage of. One of the things is weather. And so the need to travel at high altitudes across long distances has really provided a lot of benefits to our weather forecasting and prediction and observation system and ecosystem. And there's a lot of other industries that take advantage of that now. Aviation is a lot of times an entry point into other smart city applications. And actually, if you look at even in the other environments today, if you go to any city and say, all right, well, where can I see the most smart city applications? It's typically out at the airport. I say all that to say, all right, well, let's start out, and look at what are we building in aviation that's going to benefit, other modes, because if we're doing it just for aviation and just for ourselves, we're going to only get so far with it. Thinking holistically right from the beginning, particularly in the greenfield environments, is going to open up opportunities, and it might also open up, community acceptance, stuff like that, on there. The brownfield and the retrofit, environments in old cities, presents unique challenges, on that. And I think that's going to be unique for every city. I think it's desirable to want, a template, that you can apply. And I think at a high level, you can create some kind of template, but every city is so unique and so nuanced that that template, loses applicability in a lot of places pretty quickly, and you have to address the specific needs and issues associated with that. So my recommendation is always start out with, where is the transportation system failing today?